throwing you in the deep end, I swear.
Yeah. So we're live. Look at this. Welcome, Steve Ellis, legend that is. How are you, my friend?
Okay. Yeah. Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Good.
So the win is still fresh at the moment, so keep lancing.
Well, yeah, it was fun, wasn't it? And what a great event.
Yeah, really good, really well run. You know, there's a lot of people skeptical about resurrecting a tour that once you kind of it's past that time and it's not kind of bringing it back. It's resurrecting the whole thing, and it's been like that now because a lot of the top players have moved on. You know, because people saying they sold queues and other people moving to 8 ball, which I know how difficult it is to transition across sports and disciplines. So the fact that the first event went so well, you can see that I'm having messages off people who are looking to get their queues back and looking to switch back and get involved. So it just speaks volumes for what they're doing. There's a bit of life back in 9 ball.
No, it's great. I would have thought it put people off playing, seeing how well you're doing so quickly in 9 ball. you know, it'd be a bit off.
3 years ago, I wasn't as good as I am now, so they're thinking if he can win it, then any.
So tell us, how did you start your Q Sports journey, Mr. Ellis?
Oh, my Q Sports journey. Well, my dad was a pool player, and the local pub by us had a pool table, and we spent Friday night down there. He played for the pool team and the local Christmas champion. I think he got to county level pool when he lived in Essex years before, because a lot of people don't know I was actually born in Essex and I moved to Wales.
Keep that quiet.
So I've been brought up, but somewhere on my passport it's. But playing pool in the local pub, and we're lucky where I live that there's so many players literally in the same village. There's there's 2 world champions. Well, it's probably more than that. You got Ben Davis. So Ben's dad was, he'd go to the same pub, and he kind of recruited me to play for the Welsh junior team at a young age. You got Simon Ward. Well, he's not. Remind him of that, but he's 2 finals. But he's been world number 1. And then you got there's other players. Not just from the same town, but there was James and Marcus Phillips were both. They don't really play so much anymore, but I think they both won world titles as juniors. So that's 4 world champions in the village. So we were blessed really to from a young age. I think I started playing pool about when I was kind of 8 or 9 down the pub with my dad, and I actually got in the Welsh team about the age of 11, 12, I think.
In pool?
A pool. So I did actually start my Q Sport journey in pool. Right. So that's where I started. And when I was about 12, my dad had a pool match in Terry Griffiths' club, which was, a 10-minute drive away across the water. And it was a Thursday night league match. He played in Terry Griffiths' club, and he noticed a poster on the wall saying there's a junior event on the Sunday morning.
Right.
So that weekend he said, right, we're off to Terry Griffiths'. We're playing in a snooker tournament. That was my first really experience of snooker. I remember I played pretty good. Dave is a guy I played. He's actually quite a large TikToker now. Tom Jones Wales. I don't know if you've seen him on, but I played him my first ever match, and I narrowly lost in the first round to him. And then I remember sitting there watching the rest of the tournament, and he was in. I remember him being in the final, and my dad saying, "Look, he's in the final, that kid, and you nearly beat him." And it spurred me on a bit, I think, and that's where it started. So that was when I was, about 12. So
how old were you again when you knocked in your first century?
13. So it was it's only a year on, but for a few years, I could hold a cue. That's as if I just cue for the first time, and a year later I put in a century. I could already hold a cue, and I'd played for Wales in pool. But I started really playing snooker about 12, 13 having a century. And at that point, Terry Griffiths in 1 year saying, you really need to stop playing pool. It's messing up your snooker game. You're getting the best of yourself in snooker. You're playing pool shots on a snooker table. And then Mike Davis, Ben's father, saying, you can't be playing that snooker because it's really messing up your pool. You're playing snooker shots. So got to a point, I think, as maybe about 14, where he said I had to kind of stuck with snooker, and I let the pool go until I resurrected it a couple of years back. But I was, best mates with Simon Ward in school growing up. So although we outside of Q Sports, we were best mates, but we never really, we never really played each other. It was like we'd always talk about pool and snooker, but we'd never be at the same competitions because he'd be off at a pool event and I'd be at a snooker event, and we kind of had completely separate paths, and he was far more successful than I was on my path. But maybe I can try and catch him up now, eh?
Yeah, no, maybe, eh? Go on, James, you must have 100 questions being a fellow pool player like this guy.
Phil, you can't put me in the same bracket as Stephen.
No, I know you can't. I've watched you play, I know.
We can talk about that shot up the rail if you want. I've still not put that out there.
Oh my God.
That was a belter, that. You have to send Stephen that.
James's shot up the rail, was he?
Yeah, it was.
First time on a hairball table as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
which I thoroughly enjoyed, to be honest. But no, I mean, so one of my first questions, obviously, listen to that. I mean, you said you got a century after a year. Were you getting lessons? Were you being coached, or was that just sort of off your own back?
Well, no, that was off my own back. I did have some coaching further down the line, and it did help me because I used to kind of if I was putting top on the white, I used to come like almost cue above the ball and then drop down a little bit. And so when I was playing screw back, I was kind of not really at the bottom of the white, but as I come through the ball, I dropped the cue, and it took me a little while to fix because when I first had a lesson, I was chipping the white up in the air. I remember because it was Terry Griffiths who coached me, and I remember him saying, "Put the tip to the bottom of the ball," and I was like, "I am." I couldn't see that I wasn't. Losing his frustration. I don't know if you ever met Terry. He was so blunt, and he used to. He was hilarious. But I did have a couple of lessons off Terry, and I remember the first lesson I had. So my brother plays as well. I got a brother, Frank, who's 2 years older, and we grew up playing together. And we're both as talented as each other. I think it's just the temperament that separated us. But my dad was doing some work for Terry on his house. He needed a kind of window or a door replacing or something. My dad was a conservatory builder, and he said, "Yeah, rather than paying me, he said, I'll sort your window out, and you just give the boys a few lessons for me." And so he said, "Yeah, happy days." Worked out a good deal for the both of them, and so I remember my dad took us along, and we sat in the match room with Terry. And he sat there with his pen and paper, and he set up a long pot, and he said, "Right, okay, I want you to pot on the snooker table now, full length of the table, blue on the spot." He said, "Let's have a look at you." And I got down, and I absolutely caned it in. And he turned to my father, and he just looked. He said, "Taking the fucking piss." I couldn't fall there, but those were his exact words. So that was Terry. He was quite blunt, but that was funny.
Excellent. So I mean, I'm more intrigued now. So you had only a couple of lessons, a handful of lessons. So within a year of playing, I mean, how many times a week were you playing? Were you sort of doing solo practice? Like, to go in a year to making from nothing to a century's phenomenal, really, isn't it? Especially at that age, at any age. So what were you doing to sort of to get there?
Oh, we lived in the pool hall over Terry's. Yeah, every free time we had around school, my parents would have a car full of us, drop us down there and pick us back up. I remember on a Saturday we'd be waiting outside at 10 to 10 for them to open the door, and I'd play all day. I had one or two friends who school friends who were as passionate about it as I was. So we joined at the hip, just going down there and spending all weekend and whatever nights we could. As a junior, they couldn't get me off the table. You just play all day long, and as soon as you've had 4 hours with someone and they've had enough, I'd be asking someone else for a game for a couple of hours. I remember that most of the Welsh tournaments were on a Sunday in Terry Griffiths, and I'd play a tournament there, 10 a.m., finish up about 4 p.m. And as soon as I lost, I wouldn't sit there watching the finals and the semi-finals. I'd be looking for someone in the club to go back on and have a knock after the tournament. So it's just playing, and I think I like to think I've got natural ability. I do tend to play my best stuff when I'm just naturally playing and not thinking about anything. And that's all I've done really all my life is have a cue in my hand, whatever cue sport it is. But I think that's why it was just the amount of playing and natural ability.
So obviously you were playing snooker at what age?
I played snooker right through until I went to university. Really, I had a few friends like Daniel Wells who took to it completely full time, and I always had my mother in my ear saying, "You've got to get your education first." And so I went off to university, and I was quite young, settling down with a family actually as well. So I played right up to maybe 18, 19, and then family life completely took over. And I had several years away from playing anything at all. So I actually stayed in Swansea University rather than going away, so that I could kind of have one eye on playing snooker and one on studying. And I think because I got to the final of the Star of the Future event in Pontins, which was, I don't know if you remember, that was quite a prestigious event, and I lost to Adam Duffy. It was I think it was a race to 4, and I was in front like 3-1 or something, and I had a dead straight blue in the middle, and the black was on the pink spot, and the pink was on the black spot. And it was a couple of weeks after Ronnie O'Sullivan had played a shot where he's just smashed the blue and come off the jaw down for the black, and that's all that was in my mind. And I think I was about, I just needed the blue and the pink, but the pink was on the black spot, and that was to go like 4-1 in front. To go race to 5. That was to go 4-1 in front to race to 5. And all I had in my mind was just smash it in, come off the jaw and down, and I potted the blue and just followed the white straight in behind it. Rather than potting it and playing a safety, I chasing it. That's typical me. And I went straight in off, and he potted then the long blue, pink and black, 3-2 instead of 4-1, and from there he kicked on, and I fell apart. And so that was around, I think that was like the under 18 category. So I was around 17 at that time. And that was a bit of a kind of pinnacle of where I was in my snooker game, because I'd just finished number 1 the previous year on the Pontins Challenge Tour, pipping Stuart Carrington to the number 1 spot.
All right.
Yeah, I think I played him in about 4 of the 5 finals up there. That was a great. We used to go up 2 weeks for that series. But I lost to Adam, and then it was kind of maybe a year or two of chipping away at this and that, and then I hung the queue up for a long time then. So yeah, around about 19, I think, and I picked it back up again. Well, several years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago, I've been playing a lot. Family life took over as the kids got a little bit older, and I got a bit more time on my hands. Tried to get my identity back as Steve rather than just Dad, and Paul definitely helped me do that. So yeah, just got a passion for it now. I feel like I'm an up and coming 40-year-old now.
And obviously, we're both good friends with Wayne Griffiths, and it was actually Wayne. Obviously, all that time you spent with your dad and Wayne as well. It was actually, I got a call from Wayne about, oh God, I can remember. I was on holiday at the time. I don't know, 4 years ago, maybe.
I think, maybe the times playing by. I was thinking it was about 3.
Yeah.
Working together.
And then, I got a call from Wayne and just says, how do you feel about doing some pool? I'm like, pool? I've done pool before. Don't know anything about pool. He says, well, you don't know anything about snooker either. Well, that's true. So it's like, so it's like, so give this guy a call, and it's big Steve. And Steve had a job on his hand. My God, he did good. Because he was like basically having to tell me, I was like, there's different kinds of pool, and he's talking about racks and rails, and I've not got a clue what he's talking about. What are you on about, man? What's all this? So he spent years like kind of like just really. I've went more of Steve than I have, the other way around. He's just been teaching me about. Pool and stuff, from there. So no, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, I remember calling Wayne because I think I'd been on the GB9 ball tour a year, or like dipping in and out of events, and I have strokes of genius, and then as soon as it come to, remotely getting anywhere in a quarterfinal or something, I would fall apart. Be like, I remember, I think there's so many games that stick out. I think one was against Scott Gillespie. I played in the 9-ball event, and I think I had about 3 straight 9s just down the rail to win the match. And you'd swear I'd hand the cue to a grandparent to just try to pot it. And that was me. It was the same as a junior. I've been 2-0 up on Judd Trump about 3 times and lost 3-2 because I just couldn't get over the line. But I missed a ball hanging in the pocket to get in the Welsh team as a junior. Black ball hanging in the pocket, black ball frame to get in the Welsh team, and I just found a way of missing it. And when I started competing back again, and I was passionate about it, and I was playing Marcel Price in practice, and often getting the better of him. And he's a top 9-ball player tour, and I thought, well, if I can compete against him in practice, I'd turn up to the tournament and he'd be going in the deep end and I'd be out early rounds, and psychological. And the wife just got fed up of me being in over, or find a hobby that I enjoy and I'm passionate about, and that excitement and that enjoyment was there in the run up to the event, during the event, and then I'd come home on the Sunday and I'd be through the floor. I'd be a nightmare because I'd be so down in the dumps. And she said, look, you can't go on with this. Maybe get someone to help you with the mental side of the game, like a sports psychologist. So that's where I got on the phone to Wayne, because I knew he was a coach out in Hong Kong. And in the industry, I thought maybe he knows someone that could help me. And he did. He did indeed.
And then you fell out with them and then found Noel.
Oh, God,
I was thinking of something funny to say then, but I couldn't. I thought.
I went through all these coaching, then ended up with no
I am often the last resort.
bottom of the barrel. So I mean, obviously, I'm intrigued. I mean, we haven't spoke. I think we've mentioned briefly in sort of passing, but we haven't really spoke about Saturday just gone. Obviously, congratulations winning the GB 9 ball event and doing it really in quite emphatic fashion. I watched the probably about 99% of the final, missed maybe half a frame, I think, but yeah, I mean, it was brilliant stuff. And from what you've said there with your time with Noel, I mean, how's that sort of developed? How you don't need to go into specifics in terms of things that you've worked on, but how has Noel sort of helped your game?
I think
You
it's
know,
just an overall kind of fundamental approach to competing. That's the main thing that changed. That's changed. He's stopped me completely and utterly being engrossed in results. Helped me play for the passion of the game and realizing. I think one thing he said to me. There's loads of things, but he basically breaking down kind of symptoms versus causes, and then I focus on the symptoms which are all the winning, and these are just the outcomes, not the cause of what you're doing, and well, without going into that kind of opened my eyes up a bit to just really just stop looking in the wrong direction, relax and start playing the game, and he's brought, like I said about my practice game being really good. He just found a way to bring my practice game out in me, and I felt like I've been close a few times to materializing that, being relaxed, and then you get in a big match, a quarter final, and you start slipping back into the occasion, and I thought I never would actually cross that line and win anything really big until I can actually be at peace with the outcome. And for that final, there's so much riding on it for myself, and I did not think of anything but relaxing and playing pool, all the way through. And it was the same in the semi-final. I think I was on the phone to my brother after the semi-final. He said, "You look so relaxed," and I felt it. There's a lot on the line, and people always say, Ben Davis said, you have to play like it means nothing when it means everything, and that's what Noel has taught me.
yeah,
Final, even potting the last ball, I didn't even know what the prize money was, and I thought I'm never going to win an event until I don't know what the prize money is, and I don't know what's at stake, because I'm just playing pool and having fun, and that's exactly what happened that final. I totally at ease whether I won or lost. I thought I'm on a progress journey here. I've got to a final of a major ranking event, in my eyes anyway. Maybe not for me, and I thought, if I lose the final, then that's fantastic. Look at the progress I've carried on making. It's a long journey. Lo and behold, you go even further. You go a few steps further when you're not looking at the mountain, and you just going for a walk. So that's what happened. I won in quite good style in the end.
yeah. And to be honest, I mean, watching the final, and I know you can't always use that as an indicator because things can change very quickly, but and this is no disrespect to the opponent that you played, but I think everything you said, he sort of seemed to feel in that final. He was tightening up. He was obviously missing balls that he hadn't been all day. And then I looked at you, and you were really quite calm and considered around the table. And from early doors, I thought he's going to have to turn this around drastically to just even from body language and everything to win this. It looked very early on like you were going to win it. Maybe not as comfortably as you did in the end, but he looked really sort of nervous, like the occasion got the better of him, and you looked really like you were just on a practice table.
Yeah, exactly how he feels. I've been there so many times, and to finally be able to have a skill set that Noel's taught me to not act that way. It's a springboard. It really does help. I've when I look at the field, sometimes when I go to these big events, like I remember I was at an ultimate pool event a year or two ago, and I kind of lost in like the last 64 or last 32. And I'm looking around thinking how good everyone is, and I felt like my game was really good at that time. And then, but everyone in the room was so good. And the guy who beat me, I thought, there's no one on this planet can beat him. He's so good. He lost then in like the last 32 or whatever it was. And then the guy who beat him lost in his last 16. And then that guy lost in his quarterfinal. And as you're going down the tournament, I'm thinking, how good must all these players be who keep beating the guy who I thought was brilliant? And it just shows that it opened my eyes that it's such a lottery, this game. Anyone can beat anyone. I'm watching the semi-final and the final on the stream and sitting there, and it's frustrating because you're watching the standard of a lot of finals and you're thinking, I can beat these guys, and that's what gives a lot of people hope is they see people in the final not playing so well, and you just realize that if you can get through the earlier rounds in a tournament and you can actually get the best of yourself under pressure when it really matters, the people you play in the final, although they're so good they've got to the final, they're not at their top game because they're bang under pressure, and you see more balls missed at the later stages of tournament than you do at the earlier stage. It's the early stages which seem to be more difficult if you think about it, because everyone's just a bit more relaxed and potting, and as soon as the wall of pressure smashes them in the semi-final, the final, you can capitalize because the games can get easier. Obviously the top boys don't do it, and that's why they're there time and time again, because as soon as someone does get a beating them, they crumble against the occasion, and they get a little bit of an easier ride, and they get through again. But there's a lot to be said for. I used to think the standard of a tournament would keep going up and up and up as the tournament goes deeper, and yeah, it does. But the pressure goes up as well, and I think you'd be a fool to think you're not going to get chances in big occasions, because you do.
It was so, like I said to you, it's like so many of these big finals. I've been very fortunate now. We're sitting 4 Q Sports finals, and I haven't been a single one of them for various reasons. For crashing events or COVID when Walker was there. So this was like I was speaking to James as I was rushing around the M25 the other night. This is like awesome because it's the first big final I've been able to make, where there's, obviously one of our players involved. So it was just tremendous. And I was just watching it, obviously talking with our mutual good friend, Mr. Price. And it was, I'm just like so proud of you, because it's like, this journey we've been on together. And Marcel's played his part as well, and so's Wardy and Terry, etc., etc., etc. It's like everybody's put this input in Big Steve, and here we are, and it's because like when we first started to get together, I can remember maybe like a third or fourth session together, and I was like, I've been thinking about you, Big Steve, and I was like, I think you're choosing the second best thing in your menu, and he's like, well, like, what do you mean? Obviously, you two are well versed in that premise, but it's like, you want the lobster, but you're choosing the pizza instead. The pizza's your current life. The lobster's the one you could have. But yet we never choose the second best thing in the menu. We always choose the thing we want, and life is exactly the same. And you can see this switch go off in Steve, and it was so exciting to see that. At the time, you've got full-time jobs in accounting, and you've got family life, and then you're trying to squeeze in practice, and then you're pool events and stuff at the weekend, and you're just cramming everything in, and it's just it's just as difficult as it could be. And I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be like this. I mean, what about if you like we work towards, you being a full-time player, you didn't have a job, this is your job. And he's like, God, that would just be incredible. I'm like, do you think we could do that? I'm like, yeah, I think we can. And it was just like, I think that was probably like our biggest success together, is like changing your mindset to actually that's possible. That was an initial step. And then it went from possible to being a certainty, because in your head, long before it happened, it was done already. You were going to be a full-time player. This is what you do for a job. Sponsors in the door. Be traveling the world, and playing pool professionally, and then the rest of your time be your own for practice, spending time with your family, everything, and just be awesome. And here you are doing it, and I get almost quite emotional thinking about it. It's like, I'm so proud of you. Like you're going and doing that, because it's absolutely remarkable, and it's something that I know friends of yours on tour and other players talk to me, not just in reverence about, I get messages, calls from players every week, and probably half of them, it's like pro players, and they're like, just on about Steve Ellis, and it's like, I don't know how he does. They watch you play, and he's like, he's so calm. And I just don't know how he does it. And when I ask him, he'll not tell me anything. No, he says he's going to phone that guy. So hence why I'm on the phone, and it's great. It's just been amazing. But I'm so proud of you, everything you've done. It's remarkable. I think you're almost nonchalant about it, but really it's remarkable. It really is.
Much. When we first saying about playing, it took me a long time to believe what you're saying, because it just seems so far away, But deep down, I remember you did out with me deep down. That's what I did, and why don't I chase and pursue that goal? And to sit here now and say I have quit my job and I am a full-time player. I've been very fortunate as well along the way, and you need a bit of luck and you need a bit of help, and I'm in a position now where I'm at the early stages of a full-time career in pool, and I'm going to give it everything. So yeah,
that's great. And you've got sponsors on board now. Tell us about them.
Yeah. Well, McDermott Hughes took a chance on me last year when I approached them. And that really helped me get the right equipment and start getting to some of the international. So yeah, a massive thank you to them taking a chance, and long-term loyalty from me to McDermott for that. They've been great, and things have just gone from one to the next. Joy, appreciate everything Joy done, taking a chance on me as well. So Joy gave me a contract at the first event I went to in October 23. And Jordan Shepherd, I owe him a lot. That's why he calls me One Way Steve, because he just keeps giving and over.
One Way Steve.
Debbie, you're a legend. Thank you, pal. But, so he got me onto Joy, and I remember when we first got I think he was hounding them the minute we got off the plane. They picked us up and they say, "Where's his contract?" And they said, "Hang on, didn't him hit a ball yet." And he was bigging me up, and I thought, "Gee, watch me play. I'm gonna fall apart here. I'm gonna be absolutely useless and make a big fool of myself." Turns out the first dozen frames I really, really was. I thought that Hayball was always, for years I watched it and thought, I remember saying to I think it was the 2022 Hayball Grand Finals. I was after I watched it, and I said, one day I will be there. I'm going to be there at that
That's
tournament,
the
because it was
mindset.
like
Yeah.
it was like I remember watching it. The following year, I was the opening freaking match, but we'll get onto that. But yeah, so Shep kind of hounding Joy for me, saying, this guy needs a contract, and they were saying, oh no contracts. And it turned out we went to practice, and I was absolutely hopeless. I played Arvin Dad and couldn't win a frame, and I thought, wow, I kind of got my eyes thinking on this target, and I'm so way off the mark. I literally could not put the ball. And it turned out then I put the work in. I drew Arvin in the first round of the tournament, and I ended up beating him, and that started opening a few eyes. And then I was, so the first Division 1 event, I was the last Brit standing, and I won a few good matches, some good international players. That done it to win me a contract with Joy. So I got myself a contract with Joy at the first event, and I'm very grateful for that, because that means I can travel to tournaments and not worry financially to get to events and play in them. And then now I've got some other sponsors who've come on board, and I think the opportunities I've got now is I'm very lucky, and we're just going to kick on from here, get to as many tournaments as I can, just keep plugging away, keep digging, and see what I can do. And my Wayne Regan helped me before McDermott. He's been, he has literally been like a second father to me, Wayne. I owe him an awful lot, and so he's helped me with getting to a lot of. I feel a bit bad, because we both had this dream of me winning the IPA championship, and the fact that Hayball has now taken over so much, I have to make a decision. That was painful to me to not play English pool anymore, because I just want to win that for Wayne, really, myself. But maybe I'll come back to that one day. I can focus on Hayball for now, because that's where the opportunities are. And I've got a new sponsor now, Kylian Billiards Club, out in Harbin, and I think the world's our oyster. We're gonna really give me a chance to do on the Hayball scene, and playing as much stuff out in China as I can. I've even got my own Chinese TikTok page up and running now. So yeah, we may as well. It's Chinese only, but the game is so big out in China. It really, really is so big. And you see the top players in China with millions of followers, and I thought, well, I'm getting to kind of the last 32, and I'm an international, and so why not have a go? We'll see what can these things.
You're a social media sensation, and hopefully for the right reasons, because I've seen some social media footage, and if anybody listening to this really wants to ruin their day, maybe your day's going too well, you should look up Stephen Ellis dancing, because it will thoroughly ruin your day, as it did mine. It was sickening. But yeah, he's awful dancer, obviously. But fortunately, he's better at pool. But it was amazing. Obviously, we're going to get Shapey on. Obviously, God, legend, and great friend to all of us. And then, hands down, probably one of the best folks I know. So we'll get him on. But it's obviously, like the footage of seeing you and Shapey coming out of like a limo at an event, and all these like hordes young players wanting you to sign autographs and stuff, and cameras following you about, just amazing. And I'm like, that guy, he was an accountant. Look what he's doing now, playing local 8-ball flyers and stuff. Look at him now. It's just amazing. It's really, really cool. But you deserve it, man, because it's like, you've been so dedicated, and I'm struggling to think of another player works harder than you, and you're doing all the right things. And I think obviously, like, as we always talk about, our process doesn't stop. We've put improvements in place, but obviously, we've got as we were discussing at the weekend, it's like, we're not like, we're bizarrely walking down the street with this big silver trophy in London, and then like going into an Indian restaurant and having food and stuff. It's hilarious. There's nowhere to eat because the trophy's taking up so much space on the table. But despite like that amazing day and like amazing weekend, it's like we probably spent 90% of our time discussing. Great, probably done well. No, it's like all about moving forward and like what we've got planned and making a step forward, which is tremendously exciting because we're not even remotely done yet, are we, Mr. Ellis? There's much more to come.
No.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
Indeed. Yeah, that way I mentioned about the grand finals 2020 when I watched it and I said one day we'll be there. And I was excited saying it to you, but it just seems so far away. It literally seemed a world away. But that's where my sights were set, is getting to that Joy Grand Final, like something I've never seen before in a pool tournament. And it turned out the following year, how far we come in a year? The following year, I was the opening match on that main stage after the opening ceremony versus Johan Chua. In front of there was 3,000 people in the sitting arena. We emptied the arena by the time we were halfway. But it was the walkout in front of all them people who were there for the show, and that was phenomenal. It really was, and obviously my dad was there watching that time as well. And I think I went 8-1 down, but I know they call Simon the boomerang, but I felt like I'm a bit of a boomerang myself. I tend to win most of my games from being far behind. That's something I've learned from Noel. And I was 8-1 behind, and I didn't even know what the score was. Well, sorry, of course I did. It was 8-1 behind. But I didn't even know what the score was, and I turned around and. Are you there? Sorry, I turned around and frames later, and it was like it was 12-11 in a race to 13, and I couldn't believe how much I'd come back, and I ended up missing something really silly to draw the match level and losing, but that was a great experience. The year after, I dreamed of getting there to be the opening match, and that was great. But that put me into the losers side of the draw, and I actually still qualified then for the final stage through the losers side of the draw. But my dad was taken ill, and I had to just pull out from the event. But that was a great experience. And I got the grand finals coming up again in May, so I can't wait to go back this year. It was my first one last year, and I didn't lose. I wasn't knocked out, so in my head, and we'll see how this year goes. But that'll be nice, eh?
No, it's going to be great. James, Steve does something hilarious at events, so like. And it's funny, like being at events with him. So he's like he just goes up and says to the organizer, "What table?" That's all the information he wants. So you're on table 18 next to him, like great. And he's like, I'm like, well, who are you playing at? Don't care. Whoever turns up, don't care. It's such an amazing process.
Working the draw out, honestly. I used to do it myself, and it never turns out the way you look at it. You look at the draw, it comes out, and I got people come over to me, I got you in the third round. I'm like, we're not even in the first round yet. You see, I'll beat him, then I'll play him, and honestly, people figure it out like it's a quiz game.
Yeah.
It never turns out. And what's the benefit doing that, because if you look and you got someone who's really good, they're absolutely bricking it before they play, and then they realise they get chances that they should be taking, but because they're playing someone who's so good in their mind, they've half lost already. They end up crumbling because you're playing someone good. And then the other option is, it's a name you don't know. So you go, oh, there we are. You got one, you got one eye in round 2 already, and then you got to play your round 1 match and against someone you've never seen before. And the standard's so good, and there's so many good players that and pool is so quick fire. You're 3 or 4-0 down before you've hit. You even known the match has started. You think, the hell is this guy? And you also think, well, I can't lose to someone who I don't really know and is not a big name. So there doesn't seem to be any benefit. Whichever way you look at it, whether you got an easy match or whether you got a tough match, you have to just be irrelevant to who you're playing. And I know it's very hard to do, but do try and just not look at the draw at all.
This is great advice. What other advice would you give? Say we've got an amateur or pro part time, which is what 99% of pro tournaments are part time players, right? Because they have to do a job. Because obviously it's hard to earn a living. What advice would you give them in order to do what you're doing now?
You've got, you hear it time and time again about enjoying the game and not focusing on the outcome. That's the answer. You've got to not focus on the outcome and focus on just playing and potting balls. Like you said to me before, Noel, Noel once said to me, it's not your job to pot the balls. And I looked at him like he's got 2 heads. What the hell is the guy on about? And he said, if you think about it, your job isn't to make sure that ball goes in that hole, because you're not in control of whether it actually goes in the hole or not. Your job is to just get the best out of yourself. Your job is to relax, enjoy the game, and get your best out of yourself. And if that ball going in the hole is just a symptom of you doing that, you can't make the ball go in the hole. You can't control whether you win or whether you lose. You've just got to focus on not winning, focus on enjoying, relaxing, and being the best you can be. And the winning is the symptom. The winning just takes care of itself. And that's the advice I'd give, to people. You can't go chasing the outcomes. You've got to find it in yourself first to get the best from yourself, because that's what the answer to winning is to be in your best.
And this is it, isn't it? It's as we say, it's not balls competition. It's a mindset competition, because and it's only that because everybody can pot balls.
Yeah.
The mindset's the differentiate factor. That's where there's opposing skill sets. Especially at the level you're at, Steve. Oh my God! If obviously snooker's easier to kind of quantify a skill set on, but obviously the events you're going to in China. Surely where would you put them? Like if they played snooker, the highest bake is all going to be 130 plus.
Yeah, well, I think the pool is fire, and so snooker, when you're slogging out for half an hour a frame, your skill set kind of does come through a bit more than. But on a pool table, you walk into a tournament and you see everyone practicing, and every person who's paid money to be in that tournament is capable of just clearing the pool table, and they're there practicing, clearing up. The difference is, your match play ability, because like you said, it's a quick fire sport and anyone can beat anyone. So it gives a lot of people hope that, there's less so in hayball, because you do need a lot more skill but English pool particularly, yes, you can win with tactics and whatnot, and anyone can beat anyone. And I think that there's a lot to be said for the mindset, but there's no quick fix as well. I've had so many calls. I had a call yesterday. People looking for miracle cures. It's almost like Noel is a magician. I may as well just call it Merlin, and he's got a bag of spells there, and they want access to the phone number because he'll just make them a winner and make them a. Don't work that way. No one is there with a miracle cure who's just going to solve all your problems. It's you who need to do it. But like a lot of coaching, when you think it's going to change the world, it doesn't end up doing that because you got your expectations in the wrong place. But at a high competitive level, so many things and experience and experiences and knowledge that the likes of Noel can give you, little things that stick with you, and it's just a long-term process of building on bits of advice that really goes a long way. But it's not like coaching, it's not for everyone. All different types of coaching, whether it's mind coaching or pure action coaching, some people get on with it more than others. And I think that the more you think that someone else is going to change your game in a heartbeat, the less is going to happen. You really need to understand when you go into kind of coaching programs, you got to find it in yourself, and it takes time. Hence, at this stage where I'm winning a tournament, and that's 3 years of hard work and educating myself from Noel educating me on what it to win and what those little differences, where you can find them, and we're starting to find them now.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that's phenomenal because for me, there's a couple of things like I've just I've listened throughout and it's been fantastic. But when you say they're 3 years, it's not. It's 3 years obviously with Noel, but in terms of the work that you've put in goes right back to when you were playing snooker and all those hours spent in the club, and then it's all of these little things to then go full time, to then work with Noel, implementing those things, to recognizing you actually need that support and accept it whether you want it or not. It's there's a lot of players where you can say those things and they'll find many different excuses. Say, well, actually, it's not a mental problem, or it's not this, or whatever it is, because they're not willing to accept that or to put that work in. And a lot of things can be quite basic. We'll have these conversations all the time. It could be even just drinking alcohol, not eating, not sleeping properly, not putting enough practice in, not preparing correctly. They're not difficult things. Most people know that, but they're not. They don't want you to tell that. And it's like you said, they want that miracle cure. They want to be able to pick up the phone to somebody and say, well, actually, give me the secret that, Stephen's using that's making him win. But that actually is 3 years prior, and it's the hard work and the ups and downs. It's what I always say to certain players that I work with. It's so easy to be there for people when the success is there. It's been there when the player's not done anything or not achieved anything.
That's where you learn the most.
Well, absolutely, but it's also where you learn, the support network that you've got as well. Who's really there? Who's going to be there for you when the times are tough, for those who you want when you're doing well. But you mentioned before about sort of luck, and although you can maybe spin it like that, my counter argument would be that it's not as much luck, but the credit goes to you in terms of taking those risks and putting yourself in those positions and working hard. That's not as much luck as your character and your ability to put yourself in those situations, taking the risk with a family to go full time, and then winning games and winning these things isn't luck. That's sacrifice, and unfortunately, not everybody can do that. And that's credit to you to do that, because not everybody can do that. That's not luck. That's a huge amount of sacrifice to be able to do that and to put that work in, to be able to play under that pressure to get where you are now. And I think that's a huge bit of advice to anybody, really, is nothing happens overnight. Nothing happens overnight. It's that sort of, I think it was Ed Sheeran. you know, sort of when people talk about overnight success, and they were talking about him, how he sort of came apparently out the blue, and you know, he sort of debunks that and says, well, you know, I was playing for clubs where nobody was turning up. You know, I've been playing and, you know, busking for years and years and years with no crowd. I've been doing this for many years. So now, you know, people are talking about me isn't an overnight success. The success started by me not giving up and honing and practicing my craft from being a very young age. And I think that's what you've done. And I think a lot of players, if you want to get better, the answers are always there.
Yeah.
And the answers are there, but and some of them aren't hard, but you've actually got to apply them and have belief in yourself. And it's great to see for you and Noel, obviously, like the success at the weekend will just be the start of something. But I think it's always great to have those moments to sort of to tell you that what you're doing's right. And you know, that belief that you've always had that you could do something is correct, because pool in particular, like you've said, it is brutal because anybody will win. You know, you look at the IPA Worlds, that's just been 99% of the tour, or the people who turned up probably could have won that. You know, if the balls fall nicely, you know, if circumstances are entirely different, there's a lot of people who can win that. Similarly, those people can get knocked out first round. You don't tend to see that with snooker because you can control it a bit more. You know, your safety game. There's different elements where, you know, you can control a match in that aspect. But pool isn't that, and I think you have to be strong mentally. You know, with all cue sports, but in particular with pool, because you can do everything right and still lose.
Yeah.
And it's really really brutal.
Match can flip on you in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
And you know, you see people's heads falling off constantly.
yeah,
Pool can be a bit, you know, it's quite challenging. Whereas snooker, you know, sometimes it costs you a few points that you got to claw back. But in pool, the one mistake can cost you 2 frames because you lose that one, then they break and clear the next one, and where you should have, you know, added 1 to your score, they've added 2 on theirs before you've had another shot. And
yeah,
brutal.
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think it's like, obviously, I think it's much less a problem in other sports, but it's something I'm seeing a lot in Q sports, and obviously it's affecting what we're doing in the hub. It's like, you know, kind of putting in this process, you know, me and Steve together 3-4 years now, and then we're working one to one, which is obviously, you know, profoundly different to, you know, obviously because it's tailored then, right? And it's a generic form of Q Sport Hub, hence we're able to keep costs down of it, though, you know. But it's like, obviously, but if you're spending 3-4 years one to one, and I don't think we're even, you know, halfway through our journey. It's like, you know, it's not just a time thing, it's a development thing. You know, we've got so much more to do and to bring on, as we were discussing the weekend. But yet, we have players that are coming on the hub, which is obviously, you know, really effective, especially initially, obviously, because of what they're doing wrong. And, you know, they're on here for 2 or 3 months. And, you know, I was, you know, having this conversation with, you know, Steve at the weekend, James, and he's just shaking his head because he just can't. It's difficult to get your head around that, you know, think, you know, after 2 or 3 months you're done, you know, and yes, you know, that it's brilliant and the feedback we're getting because we're contacting players that come off, and it's like, great, you know, it's like, you know, I had the yips before, or I was playing terribly and I was anxious and frustrated and angry, and you know, I was drinking Coke all day and some burger and chips, and now everyone's sorted. I drink properly, eat properly, practicing better. I get it. All the problems have gone. I'm winning a tournament now for the first time I've done in 5 years, just off the back of being on the hub, which is great. But it's trying to kind of illustrate to them, that's great, you're the best you've ever been, but how good could you be further down the line if you keep working on yourself, you know, keep investing in yourself, you know, because it's a never-ending journey. I mean, you know, I've been on this, you know, I've spent 30 years in elite sport, and I've been working on myself, you know, since I was in my early 20s. And yet I pay for coaches, you know, to help me to get better and various things. James does too. So it's like, if we're doing this, continue this journey because it never ends. Kind of like going from there. But it's certainly, I hope, members of the hub, seeing Steve, this constant development, and it'll be proven right, because, very confident, Steve's back on here 6 months now. There's a lot more trophies in the cabinet, and it's in the same year, 2 years down the line, right? But and because the development's kind of gone on and on, and I think, like, if people were to see, like friends like Wardy is a great example. Hopefully seeing a good difference in Steve now, but I think, like, people who know you well, is given what we've got planned, is going to see a profound difference in even from now, that guy that won the GB9 final.
I got
2 to the line. It's going to be night and day. Absolutely night and day, which is going to be. I feel sorry, for opponents of what's coming, but rest assured, brace yourself, chaps. Big Steve's are coming.
Look forward to
it. Steve, that was fun, man. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Sorry I talk too much. I know what I'm like.
Absolutely.
No.
That's what it's
all
for.
about you. They know about us. It's all about you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for everything you've done and all. It it gets me every time I say it, but I do really appreciate everything you've done for me.
No, me too, pal. Me too. Right back at you, buddy. Take care.
Yeah. Take care. Bye,
Take
guys.
care. Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Bye.